Do you think a situation like this, where the entire industry working tirelessly all together, does that help to build a relationship? Is the relationship within the industry strengthened through a crisis like this?
Definitely. You see, CEOs of every company talking to CEOs of every supplier, and down the line, designers talking to CEOs of foundries and assembly and test houses. A lot of partnerships being built. Everybody's getting to know each other. I think it's going to be for the benefit of the industry. A good understanding of the capacity and the roadmaps for every company and customer you have. That will help you, plan better in the future. I'm definitely seeing that.
So aside from the industry itself, what do you think the government's role are? When it comes to solving the shortages, helping enable the future innovation for semiconductor industry?
You see different trends, right? So, for example, China is putting a lot of investment into domestic production. So they don't want to depend on foreign companies. So they have put billions of dollars into building new fabs and expanding their own manufacturing footprint. The U.S. government is doing the same. In the report that I read, they're putting $52 billion to enhance the domestic production, and they're talking to all the big players to make sure that there are investments within the U.S. to expand the capacity. That way, they don't depend on geopolitical situations in the future. So that is happening, and we see that happening right now. I think they probably have to do more into bringing not only the wafer fab manufacturing, but also the assembly and test in-house, or at least within America, for example. So if you're doing wafer fab, in the US, let's say, or even in Mexico or Canada, you can do assembly and test within the region and shorten the cycle time and less dependence on, the geopolitical issues around the globe. So I think we're seeing that trend already. And I think the governments can definitely either money for the companies to invest or, provide incentives for companies to invest domestically as well.
And we know there are two bills are being reviewed right now, right? One is the CHIPS for America Act, which is helping funding the semiconductor manufacturing research. The other one is the FABS Act, which is offering tax credit. And how critical are those, in terms of the global competitiveness for the U.S. semiconductor industry moving forward?
Well, those investments on acts, I think, are going to help. But realistically, a large portion of the wafer fabrication is already coming from Asia, mainly Taiwan, and China. Is also a large producer of that. So I think those investments will help, but they're probably it's just the beginning. I think we need to invest a lot more domestically in the higher end technology, especially right now, just to keep up with the pace and have secure supply. Because a lot of these devices are not only just for basic gadgets or cell phones, right, or Wi-Fi, but it's security concerns, and they're also critical for medical devices, for supporting vital industries in the countries, right? So I think everybody's seeing the semiconductor industry with different eyes since this pandemic and this shortage happened. Yeah.
So it's a perfect time for government and industry work together in partnership. We need a more chipset, with everybody working together. As Einstein said, any intelligent fool can make things bigger and more complex. And it takes a touch of genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction. So as a tradition of our program, I hope to build an intellectual bridge between the current and future generations. So Francisco, how would you paint a picture for capacity planning by giving it a new perspective?
So to put it in simple terms, it can be very complicated or not, but one analogy is probably when you're gonna take a shower, and let's say the water heater is far away from your bathroom. You may start by overreacting and putting everything on hot, and then you see it's too hot, and then you put it to cold, and it takes probably a good minute or two, and then it's too cold, and it takes a while to adjust to the right level, right? So thinking of that as capacity, if the feedback to tell you when it's hot or cold is too long, you will probably over adjust. You will put too much hot water, let's say increasing capacity, or you put cold water, you will stop the brakes on increasing capacity too soon. And that will lead you to make a lot of mistakes and probably corrections. You might get burned, or it's going to take longer to take a shower. However, if the feedback is immediate, then you don't need to over adjust. So I would say that that's a good analogy to how to improve the capacity planning portion. Is just get faster feedback from your supplier base, from your customer base, and work together to really understand what is the true demand and the true trends, and avoid over adjusting or reacting. That's probably one easy way to put it for the audience.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I think everybody would be very easy to understand, and many of us probably experienced those, problems in our life. So, thanks for that. And in the spirit of exchange ideas, I also prepared one. Here you go. Supply chain network is similar to transportation systems. Both are primarily governed and determined by the laws of human behavior. Traffic evolves because of decisions made by people to move from one location to another. Supply chain flows because of decisions made by business to transform economic value from upstream to downstream. On the one hand, the uncertainties of human behavior made capacity planning an art form. On the other hand, certainties of finite investment and physical limitations of people, time, speed, and cost formulate the science. Like air traffic controllers, capacity planning prevents collisions, organizes and expedites the system flow, and provides information to optimize the supply chain network. And we also have a poll, with the audience here, and I would love to share this result. The question is capacity planning more of a science, data-driven, or art and intuition? And it's a single choice question. So there are three answers. Mostly art, mostly science, and 50-50 split between art and science. So we got 56% thinking it's between art and science, and then about 38% mostly science and 6% mostly art. What do you think about the perspective of the audience, Francisco?
I agree with the audience. I think it's a mix of art and science, because you can do math and you can say exactly, okay, this is how much capacity I need. But, in the end, it's inputs coming from sales people and, demand signals that may be off, customer bias, So I think it's a little bit of both. You need good science to understand the overall market and, the opportunity, but it's also a lot of art and relationship building as well.
Yeah, that's make it very, very challenging, but yet fun, right? So your dad is probably right. You're in the right industry doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's keeping me definitely busy. Yeah.
Okay. We also have some questions from the audience. So what is your sense of where we are with Moore's law and the impact of its softening?
I think the Moore's law came from Intel. So yes, I think it's not going at the same pace it used to be, as far as the technology and the evolution of that. But I think the technology. I'm just impressed by the speed of the changes and the willing to invest in the higher nodes, as we call it, in the wafer fab. Just everything getting smaller and better and faster. I think that will continue because, the designs and the tools to design the chips and to fabricate, some of the wafers, the tools keep improving. And I think we'll continue to see smaller and better gadgets and devices that will fuel the growth for technology. So I don't know exactly how long it will last, but so far it's keeping up with the pace.
Earlier, we talked about now government is playing a active role, right, in terms of helping the industry. The industry has been working as hard as you could, as smart as you could. And obviously, right, we are building more capacity and increasing the supply for semiconductor worldwide, as well as domestically in the US. So what do you say about, in terms of talent pipeline? Do we have enough of the talent in the US for semiconductor industry, or do we not? And what type of talent are you looking for?
I will say this, that there's still a shortage of talent in the US. Most companies are struggling to hire not only supply chain talent, but also people in the electronics engineering field. And as more fabs, move domestic, I think the schools and we have to promote more people going to engineering degrees in supply chain. I don't see in the U.S. the same amount of people and taking industrial engineering or supply chain as a career as compared to, for example, my hometown in Mexico, where industrial engineering is very popular. The company that I used to work for, we had thousands of industrial engineers available for supply chain, so very good supply chain talent there. And I struggled, to make hires in the U.S. In my prior 2 or 3 companies. So I think there's still a shortage of talent in certain areas, the ones that I can speak to. And yes, I think we have to definitely promote that within schools. And it's very rewarding job. It's very well paid for the most part. So every opportunity, I encourage my friends' kids to study, engineering degrees, and I try to do that with my kids. I convinced one, I couldn't convince the other one, but I'm 50-50 at least domestically. Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of maybe demand planner, right, specifically, what would be the sort of the ideal profile for a candidate that from university? What do you like them to study in terms of major? What kind of experience or talent that you think would be super helpful?
So demand planner, you can get a lot of people with either economics or marketing degrees. Those are good because you have to understand the end markets and all of that. But also, if you have especially if you're going to work in a semiconductor industry or a high tech, company, you can achieve that with an engineering degree and an MBA. That's what I would recommend, because that you have a little bit of technical background, but then you also have some of the business experience to allow you to really excel at the demand planning role. So that will be my recommendation.
You mentioned earlier that you advise your kids to study engineering. And do you think that the future in terms of the semiconductor industry engineer is definitely one of the major that you mentioned? Is there any other like data science or any other major you think will be super helpful?
Electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, all those are going to be needed. And there's still, I would say, a shortage in general. Yeah, you mentioned computer science. It's not only about the hardware or the actual silicon and the semiconductor, but a lot of the performance and delivery of the final product is on software. So software engineers and computer science, all of that is in high demand. And so I would definitely recommend to concentrate on that as well, because everything is about. You can have the best device, but in the end, you need software to run it. You need software to monitor it, and AI, artificial intelligence, and just taking advantage of the power of the computers these days. Yeah, if you have both, I think it's very powerful. You will definitely be in high end, and you can make a lot of money just as soon as you finish college. There will be people waiting to hire you.
What do you see from supply chain standpoint? What the best partnership that in your opinion in terms of within North America between US and Mexico when it comes to semiconductor industry now that we need more capacity?
Talking specific about the partnership between US and Mexico, so I think Mexico is an excellent option for assembly and test. However, to build wafer fabs, I believe there's not a single wafer fab in Mexico yet, and that in part is there's not enough infrastructure or government incentives to really push for that direction. There's definitely engineering talent and there's manufacturing capability, but I think the government is just not pushing in that direction, or if they tried, it's not good enough. You need good water supply, good energy supply, and good incentives. So that's probably where Mexico is falling short. But the other industries, there are a lot of good partnerships in automotive and manufacturing, electronics and assembly that are working very good. In medical industry is another great example. They do a lot of outsource to Mexico in particular and Canada. And very good partnerships between North America, trade agreements. So yeah, I think it's just more tax incentives to bring wafer fabs, to Mexico.
Wonderful. So, Francisco, I really appreciate your partnership covering both the micro aspect of the art and science of capacity planning. I hope you enjoyed this conversation.
Yes, thank you. It was a great time. And thanks for the audience that stayed through the end. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
And we also appreciate great questions from a high quality and a high energy audience. I hope everyone learned a few things from each other and I look forward to seeing you again in our next episode.